Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the vlog. So in today's episode we are going to be sorting out the last of the teeny little bits that you need to do to assemble the car before we get the engine back in the car. So we're dealing with the injectors, putting on new sleeves and collars and stuff. Well, basically doing a refurb on that, and then we're going to sort out the turbo. But before we get into that, let's talk about last week's video. So last week we asked the question, what do I do next? Do I build a project show car? And that show car is going to be an everyday car. It's not going to be a garage queen by no means. But do we build a project TT with an electric motor, so basically an electric Audi TT, or do we build ourselves a lovely Audi TT with a 5-pot engine in there from an RS stroke TT RSN car? And overwhelmingly you all voted for the 5-pot, and I don't blame you, because I agree with you 100%. So that's what we're going to do. So not sure when, but still having some talks with some people who can help, because the engine actually fits really well. There's not much work that needs to be done, if at all, because the mounts, etc., and the gearbox will fit straight in. The problem with it is that the TT Mark 1 is an older version of CAN bus, as opposed to the newer TT RS, which is the later version. Now, if I get an engine from the AP, which is preferable, then it's a bit more compatible, but there still needs to be some deep hitting, and I need an expert to do that. I've got a company and I'm talking to them, so hopefully that will all come to fruition. Right, okay, enough talk. Let's get onto the car. So let's take a look at some injectors and see how we refurb them to fit them into the block. Okay, so what we're going to achieve here today is we need to change out this nylon seal here. So this seal that you can see at the end here, when you take the injector out of the cylinder head, this is a one-time use. So once you take it out, you have to replace it. Now, if you've noticed here, you'll see that it's dark. That's obviously because that's exposed to the combustion end of the chamber. Hence the reason why you need to change these when you take them off, because if you don't change that, then you're going to allow part of that combustion mixture to come out and potentially damage the injector and also escape, which is what you don't want. Also, the kit that I got, it also replaces this plastic washer and this cradle at the top here. And as you can see, I think this one here, you can just see that it's got a little bit of a split there as well. So we definitely do need to change that. But you can't, the kit that you get, the kit that we're using here, I'll show you the components. It comes with everything that you need to dress. Now you might say, well, just get the new injector, but actually the kit is a lot cheaper than getting the injector. So if your injectors are okay, because these OEM injectors are about £140, if more. You can get cheaper ones, but I wouldn't advise it. I'd advise to always get OEM. So this is the kit that we have. In the kit you get a replacement collar and then a bracket to hold it. You also get the rubber seal that stops the fuel from escaping. You get a top nylon brush, which basically stops this from flexing. When you're pushing it in, it keeps that in one piece. And then we have our nylon seal that goes at the end there. Now you can see the difference in color and the reason why you need to change that. So let's get on and do that now. We'll do it live rather than me showing you fast. And the first thing that you need to do is get a good sharp knife and just gently cut off that nylon seal. Okay, it's important that you don't cut into the petrol, into the actual injector itself, and then just get a pick or screwdriver and then remove that. Okay, so we pretty much got that there. We'll just cut that off. Here we go. I think we've got that. Yep. So let's just cut that off. There we go. So that's now off. We'll just give it a wee bit of a wipe. And now she's clean. Now of course, to get this on here, as you can see, the nylon is smaller than the actual injector, so it won't just slip on. So you need this tool here, which costs around, well, I bought mine for about £50 on eBay, but you typically you see them for around £200. And all it is it basically, you put the nylon strip over that, and there's a little crevice in there, and that fits into the top here where you've got a dimple, and that goes on like so. But of course you can't push it with your hand, so you use one of these tools, and there's 3 different sizes, and you'll see why in a second. We use the crevice then, and then we just literally, actually not that in, let's get him at the top there, right up. Actually we'll start off with the smaller end, because that, here we go, we can push him up to the top, and that stretches, it stretches the tube. And when it gets to a stop position there, then just use one of the slightly smaller one, which is this one here, and that allows you to push it onto the injector itself. Here we go, and that goes on. So now that we've got it on there, it's loose. So that's where we turn this tool around the other way. And first of all, we'll try the bigger one to see, and you just literally twist it, and what it does is it compresses the nylon washer into place. Then you get the smaller one, and you do exactly the same thing, and you feel basically it's just compressing it down so it fits snugly and tightly, because otherwise if you don't do that, what it will do is it will come loose when you put it in the barrel, and you don't want that. So there you go, that's actually nice and tight, and we'll just go for the other one, which is the final one. Here you are. So that is nice and tight and is now compressed up. I'll just do a final check. Yeah, there you go. So that's now on there, good, nice and check. Next we want to take off this collar here, so we just remove that like that, and this is, like I said, this one was cracked anyway, and then that allows us to free that top jacket. We get a new one that just fits on top like so, and this one's a bit tighter, which is good. And then we got the bottom jacket here, which holds it in place. That literally goes on like that, and that hooks into place, and that's that done. The last piece is obviously the jacket here. It's got a little split in here, so we just literally just take that off. We can probably do it with a hand, but we've got our tool here to help us. So that's come off like that. So we put this one will just slip on like so, and then we get the rubber mount, and that goes on like that, and that is it, simple as that. And when we put this into the injector, we put a little bit of motor oil, as the Audi specification is, and that allows it to slip in, and it means that this won't twist and turn and stop us from getting a good seal. So that's how we dress one of these. I'll do the other 3, and then we'll get these ready to fit into the car. Okay, all 4 injectors are now done and all ready to go back into the car. Now this is the kit that you use to do that piece. You got various elements in here. This is a slide hammer. This helps you get the injectors out. This one here helps you to push them back in, and then you get various other tools that work for other models. And of course this little pipe cleaner here is used to clean out the chamber that the injectors fit into. So it's a nice little comprehensive kit. Like I said, it's about 50 quid on Amazon. If you're interested, tap me up and I'll give you a link on my Amazon store. Right, let's get these now into the car, and that's another thing that's been completed. Right, so in here we've got a whole lot of stuff here. We've got all our gaskets, as you can see. We also got some bolts here. Now if you're wondering why have we got these big hefty bolts, these are engine bolts, because whenever you remove the engine bolts from an Audi, you're supposed to replace them with new bolts. Why? Because these are what we call stretch bolts, so you can only use them once. If you try to use them again, they will come loose, and I've had an incident where that's actually happened to me, and you'll see that in another video upcoming on the S3. So we've got some new bolts, we're going to fit those and we're good to go. We've also got all of our gaskets. These are all genuine Audi gaskets. There's our exhaust gasket, and then we've got our turbo manifold gasket as well. So we've got everything that we need to complete the manifold. Oh yeah, and we have to do the inlet manifold as well, so we'll do that inlet manifold first. Okay, so we've got our inlet manifold here. This is the gasket that we're going to replace. Now this does fit one way, and the way it fits is the bit that's got the little groove, so that fits on the outside here, as you can see. So we need to take this old one off, and then we'll put the new one back in. Right, that's done and in place. Let's now turn our attention to fitting the injectors to the car. Now normally on this, there's 2 ways to install these. You can normally install these rails first by themselves, but looking at this, that might be a little bit of a challenge, because just the way that all the pipe work is done and installed, it will mean that we would have to take the whole thing apart. And while we can do that, the difficulty is putting it back together when it's in place, because if you look at this actuator here, you see it's screwed in, and the pipe work, well, you need to tighten it all up. So it's easier to actually do it as one assembly, and then what we will do is we'll put some oil, I'll show you. We'll put some oils on the little blue seal. That's the official way, the Audi way to do it, and then that allows them to slip in easier into these channels here. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, so they basically, I think they go in like that, and then they basically will slide in like that. Does that make sense? You see that? Good. Okay, let's get the injectors in. Let's have a look and see how the injectors look. We'll grab that. We've got our engine jacked up on the hoist, ready to accept our thingy. Right, so I believe there's a little notch. So you see that little notch there? So basically that will go into here like this. So our injector goes in. There's normally a tool that you use to knock them in. And then that will go in like that. Here we go. So that's holding fire. Let's just give them a bit of a knock in. Yeah, might have to try that again. Right, we'll come back in a second. Okay, well that went in the end. So literally it's just a little bit of a push. That's all it needed, and then that's locked into place. So that's one injector, and then their body fits on top. Right, let's do the rest. Okay, the injectors are now all in and they're all placed properly. Now we just need to go and get the manifold, fit the manifold in, and then we need to, obviously before we do that, we're going to dab these with some oil as specified in the Audi manual, and then we can get the manifold. Oh, we need to put the gasket in as well, so we'll get that first. Right, so we've just taken the opportunity to give the face a bit of a clean to remove all the carbon that was there so we can improve the seal. So that's come off all right. So now what we've got to do, we've got to put the slats back in. So we'll grab those now. And the good thing about these, they only go in one way, so you can't get them wrong. So basically, it's groove in first, because that goes in between the valves. Okay. And then they just slip in like so. Like I said, you can't get these wrong, because if you try to put them the other way, it sticks out. All right, so they only go in one way, and you know when they're right because they go in nice and flush like that. So let's get the other three in. Of course, these are all nice and cleaned up, which is good to see. Here we go, that's two. There's a third one. And the great thing is I've actually got spares of these now, because obviously we've got them from the other engines, so it's always nice to keep those. Right, that's it, 4. So that's all 4 in. Now we're going to get the manifold in. So first what I'm going to do, I'm just going to smear some oil over there according to the Audi manual. That allows me to easily get the manifold fitted over, and then we'll fit some of the bolts. As you can see from the previous video, we've got the connections in, so the cables are in place, so that's great. So we'll just get those sitting like that, and then the next thing you know is obviously we just need to get the manifold on place. So we've got the cable where it needs to be, out the way, with all the various different connections. So the manifold should just sit on top of it. We'll slide it in, and then hopefully we'll be able to then bolt it into place. Right, manifold is now on. There was a lot of messing around to get this sorted. I had to literally take off the air conditioner compressor, because I dropped the screw down the corner down there. I dropped that and I had to extract it from here. So right little anyway, it's on now. It's on nice and firm. The injectors are on, and that's the thing when you put these manifolds from this generation of engine. This is not an E888 engine, this is the generation before the FSI. You're going to need to make sure that these are not the screws here, that you do them by hand, because otherwise you could compress them and they can quite easily do their threads in the head, because the aluminium head here is so delicate, so you have to do it really carefully. But we've got all the screws in, manifold is in place. We need to put the throttle body on, which will go onto here, but we'll do that when we get the engine into situ. So now what we need to do, spin the engine around so we can put all the little gaskets for the turbo and the oil coolers that feed the turbo. So let's do that now, turn it around, and then we're almost ready for the engine mount. Okay, so last bit now. So we got these pipes here. So these are oil pipes. We've also got one water cooling pipe for the turbo that we're going to mount, and then we've got to put the shield on place as well. Once we get all of this done, then we're pretty much ready to do the next phase, which is to get the engine in position in the car. There's one thing that I'm a little concerned about. So this is the drive shaft for the four-wheel drive in the Heldex system. Now I've got the subframe in, and I'm hoping that I will be able to connect this to the system while it's in place with the subframe. Otherwise I'd have to jump the subframe, and that will be a real pain. But anyway, let's get this pipe in. Once you get this pipe in, then we're pretty much there. So we'll do that now. Okay, that is it. So next week we'll be getting this engine ready to fit in the car. Everything that needs to be done is done. I've still got to fit this water pipe because I'm missing one of these connectors. The one that I got, this one here is wrong, so I'm gonna have to get that one, but I'll get it in this week and we'll make sure that we get that fitted. So pretty much everything here is ready to go. So next week will be the big one, getting it in the engine. And as I said to you before, that is going to be very interesting. I think it should just be straightforward. It should be fine. I mean, like I said, it's this bit here that I'm most concerned about, whether I can fit it still within the car without having to drop the subframe. Because if I have to drop the, I mean, it's no big deal dropping the subframe. It's just a whole lot of work more, and I want to get this thing in. So we will check before we do it. I'm going to drop the dog bone next week or during the week sometime, and then you'll see how we get on with that. So progress has been made. It is slow, and I apologise that it's taken so long to get this far. I know in other channels they tend to do this all in 1 week, but I don't have a lot of time because I have a full-time job. Right, good. So we will leave it here, and we'll just finish off this video. Alright, so we are almost there. We just got to get those little bits and pieces for the coolant pipe, and then we are good to go to get that engine into the car. And that is going to happen next week. So look forward to that, and we're almost there, guys. Just got to get that challenge of getting that engine in, which we'll do next week. So in the meantime, if you are a casual viewer, and there's plenty of you are, please click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber, and click on the bell notification so you're notified whenever we release a new video. So in the meantime, we will see you in the next one. Have a great week.